Thank you, Chair. Welcome back, delegates. We have another debate session, and this one will be Resolution 114. So I'll send you guys the link to the public RMS. So for search for resolution, please input 114. And Delegate of Iraq, please prepare to read out the operative clauses. Please thumbs up if you're able to access the resolution.
Sorry,
Okay,
I didn't
see
hear. Wait, what number is it? 11 what?
114. It's being presented right now, the resolution number. So if everyone has opened the resolution, Delegate of Iraq, could you please rise and read out all the operative clauses except the subclauses and sub-subclauses?
Thank you, Chair. Operative Clause 1 urges member states in the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, UNODC, to hold annual conferences for the purpose of MEDCs to help LEDCs in such ways but not limited to. Operative Clause 2 encourages member states with the help of non-governmental organizations, if necessary, to implement education campaigns for promoting public awareness on the issue of organized people smuggling through such ways but not limited to. Operative Clause 3 considers removing suppliers from the market, primarily through dismantling smuggling networks. Operative Clause 4 calls upon all countries to provide safety and protect victims of some people smuggling by. Operative Clause 5 suggests for countries to implement the protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air, supplementing the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime to assist in combating the organized smuggling of migrants, with the condition that Operative Clause 6 further encourages countries to take additional preventative measures to prevent the smuggling of migrants by both sea and land, including Operative Clause 7 recommends countries to improve on the immigration process through such ways but not limited to. Operative Clause 8 calls member states to penalize, identify, and track the traffickers and smugglers in such ways but not limited to. Operative Clause 9 further recommends supplementing the United Nations Conventions Against Transnational Organized Crime with an international instrument against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air for the purposes of.
Thank you very much. The House will now come to order. The House will now debate on the resolution on the issue of combating the issue of organized people smuggling, submitted by the Delegate of Iraq. May the main submitter of this resolution please rise and deliver their opening remarks on the resolution. And also, the chair allots 50 minutes for the debate on this resolution.
Thank you, Chair. May I proceed?
Yes.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, under the question of the issue of organized people smuggling, the Delegate of Iraq would like to raise the attention that organized people smuggling has been a rising issue over the past few decades. Thus, the Delegate of Iraq, along with the co-submitters of Delegate of Haiti, Germany, Cambodia, Italy, and Netherlands, would like to propose this resolution for a number of reasons. First and foremost, this resolution consists of both the past, present, and future of this issue as a whole. In terms of the ones who were already victims of smuggling would be able to get financial support as well as aid and rehab in order to recover from their smuggling experience, as well as the present to decrease the already existing smuggling that is happening in the status quo, as well as preventative measures in order to ensure the long-term solutions so that smuggling will not happen in the future. First of all, the delegate would like to draw the House's attention to Operative Clause 4, which deals with the victims who are already exposed to smuggling, so that the nations may provide safety and protect victims of people smuggling and will thus handle their issues that they have already been exposed to. And Operative Clause 1 will deal with the present issue so that the MEDCs could help LEDCs to come up with ways to decrease the rate of smuggling that is happening in the status quo. Operative Clause 3 also deals with the tangible resources, for example, vehicles and strengthening qualifications for purchasing vehicles, so that smuggling in itself that is happening in the status quo would be much more difficult for them to accomplish without the resources, the supporting resources that they originally had access to. And operative clause 5 and 8 also deals with the already present smuggling, as it is going to strengthen the legislative matters and the criminalization of the smuggling, so that it is going to serve as an incentive for the smugglers to no longer commit those actions, thus decreasing the status quo, the smuggling rate at the status quo. And operative clauses 2, 6, 7, and 9 will mostly focus on the raising awareness as well as the educational efforts and strengthening the protocols that are already existing, so that it will serve as a long-term solution for the nations to decrease the smuggling rates that is going to happen in the future and no longer happen in a long-term viewpoint. Thus, the delegate believes that this resolution is able to tackle the past, present, and future, which is encompass the all-rounded, well-rounded solution to this resolution, to this question, and will thus serve as a qualifying resolution throughout this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate, for your opening remarks. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Please raise your hands. Delegate of Hungary, you have been recognized. And Mexico, in that order, you have been recognized.
To the delegate of Iraq, on operative clause 5, subclause C, it is said that countries ensure that smuggled migrants are not to be viewed as criminals but treated humanely. But how can this be able to happen specifically?
Since there are going to be officials who are in control within that moment, and we are going to send in officials to borders and any sea or air type of smuggling instances, in that case, we are going to ensure that they get the training so that these people, the smuggling migrants, will be treated humanely.
Delegate of Mexico.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, lovely speech, Delegate of Iraq. This delegate is in wholeheartedly support this resolution, as it tackles, as the delegate said, the past, present, and future of smuggling. However, this delegate is a bit confused, especially in accordance with clause 5, subclause. No, not clause 5, apologies. Clause 6, subclause A, allowing the boarding and searching of suspected vessel if the vessel shows the registration. This delegate has apologies, allow the delegate to rephrase. There are cases in which vessels will tend to fake their registration of a country, and how would that, and pretend it is from one country when it is from another. How, and if, let's say, a police force were to contact, in a Coast Guard force would contact another country, and the country has no idea about where we come from, how would that necessitate boarding the vessel, even though if it practically never existed, and there could be smugglers?
This delegate, if the delegate has understood the question correctly, believes that any suspected vessel of smuggling would be, researched and would be searched of any suspected vessel, and will be required to give in any official paperwork to make sure that it is from the official state and it's in a legal transportation manner. So in that case, the delegate believes that it will be able to efficiently identify whether it is a smuggling incident or it is an official transportation that is just, exporting or importing products or whatnot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. How does the delegate wish to yield the floor?
Delegate will to yield the floor to Delegate of Haiti.
Delegate of Haiti, do you accept this yield?
Yes, I accept.
All right, please deliver your speech.
The delegate of Haiti is in favor of this resolution and strongly believes that other delegates should vote for this resolution. In Haiti, this is a major problem that we face as a nation, as many of our nationals are smuggled across borders. The delegation of Haiti believes the resolution provides a strong basis to tackle this very serious issue as an international community. The resolution considers both developing countries and developed countries and how they can cooperate together to tackle the issue of people smuggling and human trafficking. In particular, the delegate would like to highlight Clause 6, Subclause C. Here, this resolution introduces the use of modern technology that we have today to help minimize costs, such as those that are needed to hire more border patrol officers. We would like to urge this House to vote in favor of this resolution and work towards ending this serious issue of people smuggling and illegal trafficking.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate open himself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Please raise your hands. Delegate of Vietnam, you have been recognized.
Thank you for your speech, Delegate of Haiti. Regarding Clause 6, Subclause C, what type of modern technology will be used to increase security?
Delegate of Vietnam, that's a great question. Technology that would be used for security would be technology that's been using organizations that are dealing with security are the technology that they use. So for example, technology that's related to surveillance of an area would be considered a modern technology used for security organizations.
Thank you, Delegate. How does the delegate wish to yield the floor?
Back to chair.
That is in order. Deputy Chair now yields sharing rights to procedural chair to you.
Thank you, Chair. The House will continue debating on the resolution. The floor is once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Italy, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Procedural Chair. As mentioned by the previous delegates, this resolution covers the past, present, and future of this issue, as well as covering the preventative measures and consequences of this topic as a whole. Taking in consideration of these clauses, we can see that there are many NGOs that support this type of cases that are happening near the border, such as UNHCR, UNICEF, and IOM, as well as allowing borders and searching of vehicles, and also prosecutions that are allowed to suspected smugglers and victims of these smugglings. So this resolution also presents some improvements that could happen in the border, such as previously mentioned by the delegate of Haiti, technology, as well as an international identification system that would be implemented to every single citizen living in second, third world, or even first world countries. So this delegate believes that we can implement this identification system just like vaccines. So the vaccine at first is expensive as there are sparse amounts, but then as production increases and the production volume increases, the price is now decreasing, and now NGO camps also are setting up vaccines to people for free. So that is what this resolution focuses on. We are planning to provide security and also CCTV surveillance to people in rural countries for a very cheap amount with identification system. So therefore, this delegate concludes that this resolution covers all aspects of this issue, and this delegate highly offers other delegates to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened himself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegate of North Korea, delegate of Pakistan, you have been recognized in the order.
Ms. Delegate would like to focus on Clause 4, Subclause B. what countries or what organizations would provide financial support for national government of tier-3 countries?
As mentioned in Clause 4, Subclause A, UNHCR, IOM, and UNICEF are some of the few examples of NGOs that could support Tier 3 countries, as well as other NGOs that are not mentioned here could help with the supporting of Tier 3 countries financially through crowdfunding or even government funding.
First, the delegate of Pakistan would like to thank the speech of the delegate of Italy. This delegate is in favor of this resolution. However, the delegate of Pakistan would like to ask for some clarification on Clause 3, Subclause B, Subclause I, saying that the block suggests some strengthening qualifications for purchasing vehicles. The delegate would like to ask Italy what methods does Italy suggest, and would they be applied internationally to every country or only for the countries where where people are smuggling from to other countries?
Firstly, thank you for the question. This delegate believes that the qualifications for purchasing vehicles should be applied internationally, and this should be done via government personnel only, as there are many illegal smugglers that are purchasing vehicles such as ships, planes, or even cars. So this delegate believes that there should be tight security in terms of tracking purchased vehicles and where they travel. Also, there must be a specific record for the vehicles purchased, their locations, and they all should be tightly monitored, as this delegate believes that this is important in terms of tracking down the root cause of human smuggling. So this delegate would mainly focus on tracking vehicles where smuggling is high or where it's more likely to happen, rather than countries everywhere, as it is not a foreseeable and easy task to track every single vehicle that is purchased. So this delegate would conclude by saying we would track down the license plates, and we would keep a tight monitoring of any suspicious activities based on purchasing vehicles, and this would be applied internationally.
Thank you, Delegate. Would the delegate like to yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
Back to the chair.
That is in order. The floor is now once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Germany, you have been recognized.
Thank you. This delegate encourages all delegates to vote for this resolution. As mentioned, organized human smuggling is an uprising issue and adequate measures have to be taken. This resolution not only addresses the protection of smuggling victims, identification of traffickers, and limitations in the borders, but also works on spreading awareness about the issue. This delegate would like to pull attention to Clause 2. Implementing education campaigns would be effective in preventing or limiting future smuggling cases by spreading awareness regarding this issue. Non-governmental organizations and UN groups will be helping with these procedures. Once again, this delegate urges all delegates to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Seeing that there is none, the floor is now once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House?
Motion to move on to a moderated caucus for 20 minutes.
It's denied. Delegate of United States, you have been recognized.
Thank you. The delegate of the United States would like to make a speech in favor of this resolution, as it is very detailed and very well thought out. For example, Clause 3 is a very good solution to dismantling people smuggling. For example, Clause 3 is a very good solution to dismantling people smuggling networks and should be passed in the delegate's opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all points of information. Is there any in the House? Seeing that there is none, would the delegate like to yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
Back to the chair, please.
That is in order. The floor is now once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Oh, Delegate of Mexico, you have been recognized.
Apologies, the delegate of Mexico was asking for a point of parliamentary inquiry that this delegate believes that they have submitted an amendment for this resolution.
Can the chair check with other chairs first?
Yes, head chair, could you please represent so that the amendment loads?
The amendment has been submitted by the Delegate of Mexico. The Delegate of Mexico, could you please give a speech?
Thank you, Chair. Honorable delegates, honorable delegates, honorable chairs, and members of the floor. This delegate believes that this amendment should not include the aforementioned Clause 8, Subclause B, requesting to deploy staff and resources from NGOs for the effective border control. An NGO, by its definition, is a non-governmental organization. It is a private institution. It does not work for a government. And to consider that they are using private institutions for their own border control is absolutely done to the point of a NGO. NGOs in point are meant to help with issues regardless of countries, and border control, and to make them help with border control should be a country's job. It should be a government job. It should not be towards an NGO, and an NGO shouldn't have to. And as you know, border control is also quite dangerous because people can be hurt. And so risking the lives and resources from NGOs, private institutions, just for a country's border control shouldn't be a clause. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The floor is now open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the amendment. Are there any in the House? Delegate of the United States, you have been recognized.
The delegate of the United States would like to speak against this amendment because in some countries, border control personnel or border control police, I guess, are not able to do their work properly. So what are those countries supposed to do? And what are non-government organizations supposed to do if not to help in whatever way they can?
Thank you. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
This delegate is open to one point of information.
The delegate has opened herself to one point of information. Are they in the House? Delegate of Mexico, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The delegate of Mexico understands the delegate of the United States point, but the failures and forthcomings of a government should not be the responsibility of a private institution. An NGO is dedicated to its own goals. For example, the Rotary Club, which is dedicated to helping people around the world, it should not be hired by a government to enforce border control. And even so, border control usually requires arms, munitions, weapons. And I don't think an NGO, a private company, would have those sorts of resources. So once again, this delegate asks the United States, why would the failures of a government be considered for a private institution, which in turn has no right interfering with a governmental affair, be involved in border control?
Can the delegate of Mexico please rephrase their question?
Apologies. This delegate would like to ask the delegate of the United States, if a private institution is a private institution and border control is considered a government matter, as many governments around the world have their own border control policies, why should the failures of government border control be tackled by NGOs if they are their own private institutions?
Does that imply that, my apologies, does that imply that the NGOs or, sorry, I have nothing to say. This delegate has nothing to say.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
Back to the chair, please.
That is in order. The floor is once again open to any delegates wishing to give a speech for or against the resolution. Are they in the House? Delegate of Iraq, you have been recognized.
This delegate has submitted a amendment to the second degree.
Hatcher, could you please refresh the page? There is an amendment submitted by the delegate of Iraq. Could the delegate of Iraq please give a speech on this amendment?
The delegate believes that deploying staff and resources is crucial for effective border control, but if the delegate of Mexico has been concerned about the fact that it's by non-governmental organizations, the delegate believes that by changing it to governmental organizations, the delegate fully understands that having non-governmental organizations may result in the nations thinking it's a government failure. Thus, the delegate believes that by changing it to governmental organizations would be a much effective way to ensure both the deploy of staff and resources, which is crucial, but at the same time ensuring the government's credibility within a nation by employing organizations that are conducted by the government. Thus, would like to propose this amendment to the second degree. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate accept any POIs?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened herself to any and all POIs. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Mexico, you have been recognized. And Pakistan.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Delegate of Iraq, the delegate of Mexico appreciates the amendment and the idea of governmental organizations instead providing border control rather than NGOs. However, this delegate is just asking for a bit of clarification. Does this imply that border control is already not institutionalized by governments, or are they deploying, or are you requesting additional support from other governmental organizations?
By saying that request to deploy staff and resources means that although it may be in order for some nations, but in some instances it is not, because they don't really require border control. But for nations who already do have it, it just means that it's additional support.
Thank you.
The delegate of Pakistan, considering the concerns of the delegate of Mexico and understanding the point of Iraq, would like to ask the delegate of Iraq if she believes that it would be possible to maybe make this subclause optional, as in the countries that seem to be in the need of an NGO to protect the borders could use this subclause. However, the countries where the government can take care of the protection of the border can just ignore this subclause.
The delegate believes that deploying staff and resources for effective border control is a necessary and a crucial point that all nations need to follow, as smuggling is inevitably happening in all around the world. Thus, the delegate believes that making it optional is not going to be efficient and kind of defeats the purpose of this entire subclause. But at the same time, this delegate believes that making it governmental organizations is going to ensure, like the delegate said, ensure the credibility of the government as well. And it is the government's obligation to ensure that all their citizens remain safe and smuggling is not happening in order. Thus believes that this should not be optional, but just kept as an subclause.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
Back to the chair.
That is in order. The floor is now once again open for any delegates wishing to speak for or against the amendment. Are there in the House? Seeing that there is none, we'll now move on to the voting procedure for this amendment. Delegates wishing to vote for this amendment, please raise your virtual hand. Thank you. Please lower your hands. Delegates wishing to vote against this amendment, please raise your hand.
0.
And delegates wishing to abstain, please raise your hand.
2.
Thank you. With the majority vote, this amendment passes and will be changed on to the resolution. The clapping is in order. The House will now debate on the resolution. The floor is once again open for any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Mexico, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Fellow delegates, Honorable Chairs, members of the floor, this delegate supports this resolution and is asking the Council for voting in favor of this resolution, as this resolution is well drafted and considers the future and present of migrants and smuggling as a whole. As this delegate does have concerns, but as previously it has been addressed. Therefore, this delegate would like to bring the Council's attention to clause 5, referring to the protocol against smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air, referring to previous institutionalized law by the UN, and to further develop on it is something that the delegate believes that this Council should focus on and thus should vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
This delegate is open to 2 points of information at this time.
The delegate has opened himself up to 2 points of information. Are there any in the House? Seeing that there is none, floor is now open to. There is an amendment submitted by the delegate of Syria. Could the head chair please refresh the page? Delegate of Syria, please rise and make a speech.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Dear honorable chairs, fellow delegates, and most esteemed guests. This is a great subclass, but it's missing a few details. When this delegate is talking about a subclass, it refers to subclass 4. This is missing a few details. This is an amendment that aims to further help specify a few things that organizations stated above, namely the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund and UNHCR. This aims to further help specify a few things that this organization will do, namely shelter, migration, food, medical aid, and water. This therefore will improve the clause as a whole and help specify a few things in the resolution, which will in return help make this resolution a better resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all pertaining to my speech.
The delegate has opened himself up to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? The chair highly encourages all delegates to participate and make a speech at least once. Delegate of Mexico, Netherlands, you have been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. First, I'd like to thank the delegate of Syria for their speech, and the delegate wholeheartedly supports the amendment. However, the delegate is just in need of a bit of clarification as to what migration camps and shelter would entail, and how exactly that would be provided.
This delegate hopes that the word shelter migration camp have. This delegate hopes that shelter means that a non-permanent or a permanent household for migrants who are fleeing a country. Therefore, migration camps mean a less permanent camp that helps. If this is slightly confusing to other delegates, this delegate is welcome for any amendments to the second degree to this amendments.
Thank you.
This delegate's question has been answered. Oh, apologies. What I meant was that the delegate of Mexico asked the same thing and commented on the same things. Therefore, the delegate of Netherlands has nothing more to extend or say on this matter.
Thank you, delegate. Does the delegate yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
To the chair, thank you.
That is in order. The floor is once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the amendment. Are there any in the House? Seeing that there is none, Delegate of Ireland, can you please approach the floor and make a speech? Delegate of Ireland.
Sorry. Chair, can I ask can you?
Oh, it's because the chair highly encourages all the delegates to speak at least once during the conference.
Sorry, Chair, but Ireland delegate isn't ready yet.
That is in order. Is there any delegates in the House wishing to speak for or against the amendment? Seeing that there is none, we'll now move on to the voting procedure. Please keep in mind that there is no abstaining in the voting procedure for amendments. So the delegates wishing to vote for the amendment, please raise your virtual hand.
Oh, sorry, 17.
17, 18. Delegates, please lower your hands. Any delegates wishing to vote against this amendment, please raise your hand.
1.
With the majority vote, this amendment passes and the accordingly change will be made on the resolution. We'll continue debating on the resolution. The floor is once again open to any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? Delegate of the United States, is that a hand?
No, sorry.
Seeing that there is none, Delegate of Ireland, could you approach the floor and make a speech on this resolution? Delegate of Ireland.
Sorry, this delegate isn't ready.
Okay, delegate of Netherlands, are you wishing to give a speech?
Delegate wishes to give a speech.
This delegate encourages fellow delegates to vote in favor of this resolution as it is well-rounded and provides many solutions for both combating the issue itself and preventing the issue in the future. In clauses such as clause 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. It assists in combating and protecting the borders and ensuring the safety and security of the borders in order for there not to be any migrants smuggled across the borders, while it also addresses the issue of smuggling migrants by sea. The 8th operative clause helps identify and track smugglers, which can prevent and break down these organized smuggling networks, and also possibly help assist in breaking down human trafficking networks. And so the delegate believes that this resolution should be passed.
Thank you, Delegate. Is the delegate open to any points of information?
Any and all.
The delegate has opened themselves to any and all points of information. Are there any in the House? Delegate of Mexico, Myanmar, you have been recognized in that order.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate of Netherlands, thank you for your incredible speech. This delegate agrees with the points stated in this delegate speech. However, this delegate is still a bit unclear about the methods in which this resolution addresses human smuggling. For example, in Clause 2, Subclause A, supporting an international media campaign to spread the awareness of the severity of the issue. Subclause I, public service announcements. Subclause II, posters and slogans, and subclause III, street billboards. Does this delegate believe that those types of media are the most effective way to spread awareness about the dangers of human smuggling?
It is one of the most effective ways. This delegate believes that this is one of the most effective ways to spread awareness, as street billboards, public service announcements, posters, and slogans. They are easily spread and can easily be put up in many places, which helps bring more awareness to this issue as a whole.
Thank you, and incredible speech.
Delegate of Myanmar.
The delegate of Myanmar would firstly like to say that the delegate agrees with the resolution and supports the resolution and agrees that it has ideas of how to combat the issue of smuggling. Although the delegate has a question regarding Clause 2, Subclause B, which states developing an educational prevention program to teach citizens of all backgrounds. How would the delegate of Netherlands say that all the citizens or victims of this issue would receive this education? How would that be ensured?
Because the subclause states that educational prevention program will be developed to teach citizens of all backgrounds. These sessions will be held at either public spaces or other institutions, and they will detail on what migrant smuggling is and why it should not be done. And additionally, it would also entail about legal migration, which is detailed about in a later clause, specifically clause 7. And educational programs such as this would help raise awareness and not only encourage legal migration, but also it would be available to many people, which would mean that it would spread awareness on or spread this topic further.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Does the delegate want to yield the floor back to the chair or to another delegate?
The delegate would like to yield the floor back to the chair.
That is in order. The floor is once again open for any delegates wishing to speak for or against the resolution. Are there any in the House? Seeing that there is none, the chair will now call on the delegates. Delegate of Nepal, could you please rise and give a speech on this resolution? Delegate of Nepal. Okay, is there any other delegates wishing to take the floor? Delegate of Poland, you have been recognized.
This delegate agrees and supports this resolution, which will help us solve the issue of smuggling in the past, present, and future proposed by the delegate of Iraq. This resolution is well made and touches many issues and their solutions. However, this delegate has an inquiry about Clause 8, Subclause C. Subclause C. This delegate wants to know how new positions paid by government will be created to be more efficient in penalizing, identifying, and tracking the traffickers and smugglers. Thank you. This delegate opens for any POIs.
The delegate has opened himself to any and all POIs. Are there any in the House? Delegates are highly encouraged to give a speech or POIs. Seeing that there is none, we'll now move on to the voting procedure. Delegates wishing to speak for the resolution, please raise your virtual hand.
$17.
Please lower your hands. Delegate of the United States, is that a hand or? Any delegates wishing to vote against the resolution, please raise your hand.
0.
Any delegates wishing to abstain, please raise your hand.
0.
With the majority vote, the resolution has passed and the clapping is in order. Chair Ji-yoon now yields her chairing right to Chair Yin.
Thank you, Chair. We have 10 minutes until lunchtime. So let's vote whether we should move on to a moderated caucus for the next resolution or go to lunch early. So delegates wishing to move on to a moderated caucus until 12, please raise your hands. Raise your virtual hands. Delegates wishing to go to lunch 10 minutes earlier, please raise your virtual hands. With the overwhelming majority wanting to go to lunch early, we will head to lunch and let's come back at 12:50.